Picture this: dawn breaks over the Salisbury Plain, casting golden light across a circle of towering stones that have stood silent for thousands of years. Stonehenge emerges from the mist like a riddle carved in rock, its purpose lost to time. Who built it? Why here? And what secrets does it still hold? For centuries, this ancient monument has sparked debates among historians, archaeologists, and even healers, each offering wildly different answers. Was it a sacred hospital where the sick sought miracle cures, a colossal calendar tracking the movements of the sun and moon with impossible precision? Or something far stranger, a message from the past we still can't fully decipher? The mystery of Stonehenge isn't just about stones, it's about us. It's a puzzle that taps into our deepest curiosity, our hunger to understand the people who came before us. Imagine standing where they stood, watching the same sun rise between those pillars, feeling the same awe. This isn't just a relic, it's a bridge across millennia. And the more we learn, the more questions arise. Recent discoveries have upended old theories, revealing clues hidden in the soil, the stars, and even the bones of those buried nearby. But every answer seems to lead to another mystery. Today, we're going on a journey through time, piecing together the fragments of Stonehenge's past. We'll explore the boldest theories, from ancient healing rituals to celestial blueprints, weighing the evidence that supports them and the gaps that keep scholars guessing. You'll hear how modern technology is peeling back layers of history, and why some believe this site was more than just a temple or tomb, but a key to understanding an entire civilization. By the end, you might not have all the answers, but you'll see Stonehenge in a whole new light. So let's step into the shadow of these stones and uncover the story they've been waiting to tell. The story of Stonehenge begins over 5,000 years ago, when Neolithic people first broke ground on the Salisbury Plain. Think about that for a moment. This was a time before the pyramids of Egypt, before the written word, even before the invention of the wheel. Yet somehow, these ancient builders envisioned a structure so enduring it would outlast empires. The first phase was surprisingly humble, a circular ditch and bank, dotted with wooden posts. But around 2500 BCE, something extraordinary happened. They began hauling massive bluestones all the way from the Preseli Hills in Wales, a journey of over 150 miles. How did they do it? That's still a mystery. Some believe they dragged the stones on sledges across land and floated them on rafts along rivers. Others think glaciers might have carried them part of the way. But one thing's certain, moving these 4-ton giants required back-breaking labor and meticulous planning. And that's just the beginning. Centuries later, they brought in even larger Sarsson stones from nearby Marlborough Downs, each towering up to 30 feet tall. The precision is staggering. The lintels perched atop the uprights were carved with tongue and groove joints like a colossal stone puzzle. Why go to such lengths? This wasn't just construction, it was obsession. Generations devoted their lives to this project, hinting at a purpose far deeper than mere ceremony. One compelling theory points to healing. Archaeologists have found clues in the bones. Skeletons buried near Stonehenge show signs of severe injury and illness. Some skulls bear marks of trepanation, a brutal ancient surgery. Even the bluestones might hold a clue. When struck, they produce a strange metallic ring. Did pilgrims believe these stones held magical healing properties? Imagine a Bronze Age sanctuary where the sick traveled for miles, drawn by whispers of miracles. But here's the twist: the healing theory isn't perfect. While some bones show illness, others belong to strong, healthy individuals. And if Stonehenge was a hospital, why align it so precisely with the solstices? The sunrise on the summer solstice pierces the heart of the monument, lighting up the altar stone like a beacon. That's no accident, it's astronomy carved in rock. So was it a temple of healing or something even more profound? The answer might lie in the next theory, one written in the stars. Could Stonehenge have been the Lourdes of the ancient world? The healing theory paints a fascinating picture, a place where the desperate and the ailing journeyed in hope of miracles. Take the bluestones, those distinctive spotted Dolerite rocks hauled all the way from Wales. When struck, they produce an eerie, resonant chime unlike ordinary stone. Some researchers suggest this sonic quality might have been central to rituals, believed to carry healing vibrations. Even more intriguing, fragments of these bluestones have been found scattered across the landscape, deliberately chipped away, as if pilgrims took pieces home as talismans. Then there are the bones. Excavations reveal skeletons with gruesome injuries, broken limbs, severe infections, even evidence of primitive brain surgery. One young man's remains show a shattered knee, healed just enough to suggest he survived for months after the injury. Was he brought here in a final bid for recovery? Medieval chronicler Geoffrey of Monmouth added fuel to the legend, claiming the stones were magically transported by the wizard Merlin from Ireland, where they'd been used in healing baths. While his account is more folklore than fact, it echoes a persistent belief in the stone's power, but skeptics raise sharp questions. If this was a hospital, where are the healer's tools or medicinal herbs? Why align the entire structure with celestial events if its purpose was purely medical? And while some bones show trauma, others belong to robust individuals, warriors perhaps, or local elites. The truth might lie somewhere in between. Imagine a place where physical healing blended with spiritual renewal, where the solstice sunrise wasn't just a calendar marker but a symbol of rebirth. The sick might have come seeking cures, but they left with something else, a connection to the cosmos, to the divine. This duality is what makes Stonehenge so compelling. It refuses to fit neatly into any single box. Even as we piece together clues about its past, the stones guard their secrets closely. And just when we think we've cracked the code, another layer of the mystery reveals itself. Like the next theory waiting in the wings, one written not in bones or legends, but in the stars themselves. While the healing theory offers a compelling narrative, not all scholars are convinced. One major challenge is the lack of definitive proof. No medicinal herbs, healing tools, or clear ritual artifacts have been found at the site. Skeptics argue that if Stonehenge were a pilgrimage destination for the sick, we'd expect more direct evidence like specialized structures or remnants of treatments. Instead, the scattered bluestone fragments might have a simpler explanation. Some researchers suggest they were used as raw material for tools or talismans, not necessarily for healing. Others propose these chips were part of ceremonial offerings, broken off as symbolic gestures rather than medicinal souvenirs. Then there's the question of alignment. If Stonehenge's primary purpose was healing, why engineer it with such precise astronomical connections? The summer solstice sunrise doesn't just glance the stones, it pierces the monument's heart, illuminating the central altar with dramatic intent. This level of celestial precision suggests a deeper, more calculated function. Archaeoastronomers point out that the station stones, those smaller markers around the main circle, align with key moonrises and moonsets, tracking the lunar cycle with eerie accuracy. Healing sites in other ancient cultures rarely display this kind of astronomical sophistication. Even the bones tell a conflicting story. While some remains show signs of illness or injury, others belong to individuals with no apparent ailments. Could these have been priests, astronomers, or dignitaries rather than patients? The presence of high-status grave goods near the site hints at a broader social purpose, perhaps a gathering place for rituals that blended healing with governance, trade, or ancestor worship. This isn't to dismiss the healing theory entirely. Ancient beliefs rarely fit modern categories. Stonehenge might have been a place where medicine, astronomy, and spirituality intertwined. But the celestial alignments push us toward another explanation, one that doesn't just look to the earth for answers, but to the skies. The next theory doesn't just suggest Stonehenge was a calendar. It argues the stones were a prehistoric observatory, a machine built to predict the cosmos. The idea that Stonehenge functioned as a colossal calendar isn't just poetic. It's backed by hard evidence etched in stone and sunlight. Every year, crowds gather to witness the summer solstice sunrise, when the first rays slice perfectly between the towering Sarsons, illuminating the heart of the monument. But this isn't a happy accident. The alignment is too precise, too deliberate. The heel stone, that solitary sentinel outside the main circle, acts like a celestial marker, casting a long shadow that points directly to the altar stone on the shortest day of the year. Even more striking, the entire layout seems designed to track not just the sun, but the moon's subtle dance across the sky. In the 1960s, astronomer Gerald Hawkins turned this theory into a revolution. Using early computers, a radical tool at the time, he crunched the numbers and found something astonishing. Over 90% of Stonehenge's key alignments matched major solar and lunar events. The station stones, those four smaller markers forming a rectangle, frame the moon's extreme positions during its 18.6-year cycle. Hawkins called it a Neolithic computer, a machine built to predict eclipses and mark sacred dates. His work ignited fierce debate, but modern research has only strengthened the case. Laser scans reveal subtle carvings on some stones that may represent celestial bodies, like a prehistoric star chart. Yet the calendar theory isn't without its skeptics. Some archaeologists argue that while the solstice alignments are real, calling Stonehenge a calendar oversimplifies its purpose. Ancient cultures didn't separate timekeeping from spirituality the way we do today. The solstice sunrise wasn't just a date on a schedule. It was a moment of cosmic power when the veil between worlds grew thin. The bones of sacrificed animals found nearby suggest these celestial events were tied to rituals, perhaps offerings to gods or ancestors. And let's not forget the practicality. Farming communities needed to track seasons, but would they really build something this monumental just to know when to plant crops? The truth likely lies in a blend of functions. Imagine standing here 4,000 years ago, watching the sun rise over the heel stone on the longest day of the year. It's not just a calendar, it's a spectacle, a communal experience that binds the living to the cycles of nature. The stones don't just mark time, they sanctify it. And that duality, the practical and the profound, might be the real key to understanding why Stonehenge endures. It wasn't built to serve a single purpose, but to embody an entire worldview, one where heaven and earth met in a ring of stone. This brings us to the final twist. If Stonehenge was a calendar, it wasn't just for telling time. It was a way of controlling it, of bending the cosmos to human will. The next theory takes that idea even further, suggesting the monument wasn't just observing the heavens, it was channeling their power. The calendar theory may seem airtight when we marvel at Stonehenge's celestial alignments, but cracks begin to show when we examine the everyday lives of Neolithic farmers. Consider this: agricultural societies across the ancient world tracked seasons using far simpler methods. Woodhenge, just 2 miles from Stonehenge, shares solstice alignments yet consists of modest timber posts. Even older sites like Ireland's Newgrange or Scotland's Callanish stones mark celestial events without requiring multi-ton megaliths. If telling time was the primary goal, why expend generations of labor on a structure this extravagant? Archaeologist Mike Parker Pearson offers a crucial insight. Neolithic Britons didn't need Stonehenge to know when to plant crops. They'd been farming successfully for centuries using basic lunar observations and seasonal signs like budding trees or migrating birds. The difference lies in scale. While a solitary standing stone could mark a solstice, Stonehenge's grandeur suggests something beyond practicality. Its towering Sarsons form a theatrical stage where sunlight becomes a performer, transforming astronomical events into communal spectacles. This wasn't just a calendar, it was a cosmic amphitheater. Critics also highlight a logistical flaw. If Stonehenge functioned primarily as a timekeeping device, why build it in a location where cloudy British skies frequently obscure celestial events? Modern weather data shows Salisbury Plain averages 165 overcast days yearly, hardly ideal for reliable solar observations. Yet the builders chose this exact spot, hinting at deeper significance. The site sits at the intersection of ancient ley lines with processional avenues linking it to ceremonial landscapes. Perhaps the stones served as a spiritual GPS, anchoring rituals to a network of sacred pathways. The most compelling counterargument comes from comparative archaeology. Contemporary European monuments like Germany's Gothic Circle or Portugal's Almenda's cromlech demonstrate that Neolithic cultures could achieve precise alignments with far less effort. Stonehenge's uniqueness lies in its escalating ambition. Each construction phase added complexity, as if later generations were trying to outdo their ancestors. This points to a shifting purpose over centuries, where timekeeping may have been just one thread in a tapestry of functions. What emerges is a monument that refused to be pigeonholed. The same stones that tracked solstices may have amplified rituals with their echoing bluestones, hosted feasts evidenced by animal bones, or marked the graves of elites buried with precious artifacts. Rather than an either-or debate, the truth likely pulses in the spaces between theories. Stonehenge didn't serve a single purpose. It was a living, evolving symbol where agriculture met astronomy, healing merged with ancestor worship, and the earthly intersected with the divine. This fluidity might explain why, after 5,000 years, we still can't quite define it. The next chapter of the mystery lies not in the stone's alignment, but in the whispers of the rituals that once brought them to life. Beneath the astronomical alignments and healing theories lies a more intimate possibility, that Stonehenge was a bridge between the living and the dead. Archaeologists have uncovered something haunting within the monument's inner circle. Dozens of cremated human remains, some buried in the very pits where bluestones once stood. These weren't casual interments. The bones show signs of careful curation, selected fragments placed in leather bags or carved chalk vessels, as if the dead were being actively woven into the rituals of the living. One burial cluster dates to around 3000 BC, coinciding with the arrival of the Welsh bluestones. Were these the honored ancestors, their spirits believed to empower the stones? The parallels from other cultures are striking. In Madagascar, the Malagasy people practice famidihana, a turning of the bones ceremony where ancestors are exhumed, rewrapped in fresh cloth, and celebrated with feasts. The living dance with the dead, seeking guidance and blessing. Could Stonehenge's builders have shared a similar belief? The placement of remains near the monument's entrance hints at symbolic passageways, thresholds where the deceased might cross over during solstice rituals. Even the bluestones might hold funerary significance. In Welsh folklore, such stones were thought to mark portals to the other world, but the spiritual purpose likely ran deeper than individual burials. Stonehenge sits at the center of a vast ceremonial landscape, connected by avenues to nearby timber circles like Durrington walls, where feasting debris suggests massive seasonal gatherings. Picture thousands converging here midwinter, lighting fires to coax back the sun, while the bones of their forebears rested among the stones. This wasn't just ancestor worship, it was a cosmic contract. By anchoring their dead to celestial events, Neolithic people may have believed they could harness ancestral power to ensure fertile crops or societal stability. The landscape itself whispers clues. Stonehenge's builders chose a valley where natural ridges mirror the monument's curves, creating an illusion that the stones emerge from the earth itself. Nearby, the River Avon's serpentine bends trace the same patterns found in later Celtic art, symbolizing rebirth. Some scholars argue the entire site was a theater of cyclical renewal, where solstice sunrises, human remains, and flowing water conspired to enact rituals of death and regeneration. Yet the most tantalizing evidence comes from the bones themselves. Isotopic analysis reveals some of the cremated individuals spent their early years in distant regions, possibly as far as Scotland. Were they brought here in death to unite disparate tribes under shared ancestors, or were they pilgrims drawn to this sacred ground like the medieval faithful to Canterbury? The stones refuse to say, but they leave us with a profound truth. Stonehenge wasn't just a monument to the heavens or the healed, it was a monument to memory, a place where the past wasn't buried but summoned. Stonehenge never stood alone. The Great Stone Circle is just the centerpiece of a vast ceremonial landscape, a web of earthworks, timber monuments, and sacred pathways stretching across the Salisbury Plain. Just 2 miles northeast lies Durrington Walls, a massive henge nearly 500 meters wide, dwarfing even Stonehenge in scale. Here, archaeologists have uncovered something extraordinary, the remains of colossal feasts. Pig bones by the thousands, some still bearing butcher marks, tell of gatherings where entire communities converged. The dates are telling these feasts peaked around midwinter, precisely when the solstice aligned the stones. Picture this as sunlight pierced Stonehenge's heart. Crowds at Durrington Walls roasted meat over fires, their celebrations mirroring the cosmic drama unfolding downriver. Connecting these sites is the River Avon, a winding waterway that seems to stitch the ritual landscape together. Excavations reveal an artificial avenue leading from the riverbank straight to Stonehenge's entrance, flanked by parallel ditches. This wasn't just a path, it was a processional route, a ceremonial highway. Imagine Bronze Age pilgrims arriving by boat, stepping onto the bank, and walking this sacred corridor as the stones loomed ahead. The journey itself was part of the ritual, a physical and spiritual progression from the mundane world to the realm of the ancestors. Even the river's bends may hold meaning, their serpentine curves echo later Celtic symbols of rebirth, hinting at beliefs that flowed through generations. The scale of coordination is staggering. Building Stonehenge required more than engineering. It demanded a society capable of large-scale planning, labor division, and sustained vision over centuries. The bluestones alone, hauled from Wales, represent a logistical feat, but consider the wider landscape. Timber circles like Woodhenge, aligned to the same solstice axes, burial mounds positioned like silent sentinels along the avenues, even the natural ridges of the land shaped to amplify the monument's impact. This wasn't haphazard construction. It was sacred geography, a deliberate reshaping of the earth to mirror the heavens. What emerges is a ritual complex unlike any other, a place where architecture, astronomy, and nature intertwined. The stones were just one piece of a grander design, a stage set for ceremonies that linked the living, the dead, and the cosmos. But none of it would have been possible without the ingenuity of the people who dreamed it. The next chapter of the story isn't written in stone, but in the sweat and brilliance of the builders themselves, the engineering marvels that turned vision into reality. Consider the sheer audacity of the task, moving 80-ton Sarsson stones across 20 miles of uneven terrain without wheels, metal tools, or beasts of burden. Modern experiments reveal the staggering effort behind each step. Teams of volunteers have tried replicating the process, using Neolithic-style sledges and ropes made from plant fibers. Even with today's knowledge, it takes over 100 people just to drag a single stone a few yards. The builders likely greased their path with animal fat or rolled logs beneath the sledges, creating makeshift tracks that could be reused. But here's where it gets ingenious. They may have exploited the landscape itself. The route from Marlborough Downs to Stonehenge follows natural valleys, suggesting they leveraged gravity, sliding stones downhill wherever possible. Once on site, the real challenge began, standing these giants upright. Archaeologists suspect they dug deep pits with sloping sides, then used ropes and wooden frames to hoist each stone incrementally, packing the base with rubble for stability. But the true masterstroke lies overhead the lintels. Each crossbeam had to be lifted nearly 20 feet and slotted into place with millimeter precision. The solution, a primitive but brilliant ramp system. Builders likely constructed earthen mounds beside the uprights, dragging the lintels up and across, then dismantling the ramps once the stones were secured. The joints themselves are marvels. Mortise holes carved into the uprights fit snugly over tenon knobs on the lintels, locking them together like a colossal stone puzzle. Even more astonishing, the lintels curve slightly to follow the monument's circular shape, proving the builders understood advanced geometry. Why pour generations of labor into such precision? This wasn't just brute strength, it was applied mathematics. The stones align not only with solstices but also with subtle lunar events, requiring observations spanning decades. Such long-term planning hints at a society with specialized roles: engineers, astronomers, and organizers who coordinated labor across seasons. Food remains at nearby Durrington walls suggest workers were fed on an industrial scale, with enough pork and beef to feed thousands. This wasn't a ragtag group, it was a civilization capable of large-scale logistics, perhaps even taxation or tribute systems to sustain the workforce. The real mystery isn't how they built Stonehenge, but what could unite a society to undertake such a project. No kings or empires ruled Neolithic Britain, just scattered farming communities. Yet somehow, these clans shared a vision vast enough to justify moving mountains, or at least stones. Perhaps the answer lies not in the monument's function, but in its construction. The act of building may have been the purpose, a communal ritual that bound disparate tribes through shared labor and celestial awe. After all, the stones didn't just track the sky, they gave people a reason to look up together. Imagine a world without kings, without borders, just scattered farming villages dotting the British landscape. How did these isolated communities unite to create something as awe-inspiring as Stonehenge? The answer might lie not in the stones themselves, but in what they represented, a symbol of collective power. In an era before written laws or standing armies, monumental architecture could serve as the ultimate political statement. The sheer scale of Stonehenge broadcasts a clear message: we are capable of the impossible. By mobilizing labor across generations, these Neolithic societies may have been forging something far greater than a monument. They were building the first idea of a nation. The archaeological record offers tantalizing clues. At nearby Durrington walls, the remnants of epic feasts tell a story of mass gatherings. Thousands of pig and cattle bones, many roasted over open fires, suggest seasonal celebrations where people traveled vast distances to participate. chemical analysis reveals something even more telling. Some animals were brought from as far away as Scotland. This wasn't just a meal, it was a deliberate display of wealth and influence. Picture clans arriving with their finest livestock, competing to contribute to the feast. By hosting these events, Stonehenge's builders weren't just feeding bodies, they were feeding loyalty, weaving distant groups into a shared identity. But power in the Neolithic world wasn't just about generosity. Some researchers point to darker undertones. Among the cremated human remains at Stonehenge, certain bones show unusual patterns, skulls with deliberate fractures, or bodies buried near the entrance in what might have been ritual placements. Could these be evidence of sacrifices, offerings to secure divine favor or assert dominance? Comparisons with contemporaneous European sites add weight to the theory. In Denmark, bog bodies from the same period show clear signs of ritual killing, their deaths timed to celestial events. If Stonehenge's alignments marked sacred moments, did they also mark moments of violence? Yet the truth may be more nuanced. The so-called sacrificial bones might instead belong to venerated ancestors, their remains carefully curated as spiritual guardians. In many ancient cultures, death wasn't an end but a transformation, a way for the deceased to wield power over the living. By burying select individuals within the monument, Stonehenge's builders could have been creating a permanent council of the dead, their presence legitimizing the authority of the ruling elite. The stones themselves might have acted as conduits, channeling ancestral power during solstice ceremonies when the living and the dead were believed to commune. What emerges is a complex portrait of Neolithic politics, one where feasting, ritual, and intimidation intertwined. Stonehenge wasn't just a temple or calendar, it was a tool of social control. By controlling access to celestial knowledge and ancestral connections, a privileged few could justify their status, positioning themselves as intermediaries between heaven and earth. And in a world where belief was the ultimate currency that made them unstoppable, the final piece of the puzzle might not lie in the grandeur of the stones, but in the silent testimony of those who built them and those who may have died for them. The stones of Stonehenge might be silent now, but 4,000 years ago, they could have been alive with sound echoes that some believe bridged the gap between the living and the dead. Picture standing inside the circle as dawn breaks on the winter solstice. The air hums with the deep, resonant tones of drums or the metallic chime of bluestones struck like gongs. Recent acoustic studies reveal something startling. The monument's layout creates a natural sound chamber, amplifying certain frequencies while muffling others. To ancient ears, this wouldn't just be noise, it could have been the voice of the ancestors themselves. Burial mounds surrounding the site add weight to the underworld theory. Over 56 Aubrey holes, circular pits just inside the bank, once held cremated remains, their ashes mingling with the earth. Some archaeologists argue these weren't mere graves but portals. The winter solstice sunset aligns with the monument's entrance, casting long shadows toward the river Avon, a celestial pathway mirroring the journey of the soul. In cultures from ancient Egypt to the Maya, rivers symbolized passage to the afterlife. Could the Avon have been Stonehenge's Styx, carrying the dead to the next world as the solstice light faded? Yet the healing theory refuses to fade away. If Stonehenge was a gateway to the underworld, why the evidence of surgeries and healed injuries? One skeleton found nearby shows a carefully set broken arm, suggesting skilled medical intervention. The answer might lie in a duality modern minds struggle to grasp. For Neolithic people, healing and the afterlife weren't opposites, they were part of the same cycle. The bluestones' vibrations might have been thought to soothe the sick or summon spirits for guidance. Imagine a shaman chanting as the solstice sun struck the altar stone, blurring the lines between medicine and mysticism. The real enigma is how these ideas intertwined. Sound experiments show low frequencies at Stonehenge induce trance-like states, hinting at rituals where the living communed with the dead. Nearby Durrington walls feasting debris suggest celebrations of life, while the cremated remains whisper of reverence for death. This wasn't a monument of either-or, it was a stage where the two danced together, where solstice light and echoing stone made the intangible tangible. The stones don't ask us to choose between healing and the afterlife. They suggest something far more profound, that to the people who built them, those ideas were never separate at all. Standing in the center of Stonehenge on a windless day, something strange happens when you clap your hands. The sound doesn't just bounce back, it lingers, reverberating between the stones like a whisper trapped in time. This isn't an accident of architecture. Recent acoustic studies by researchers at the University of Salford reveal the monument's hidden sonic signature. Using three-dimensional scans and scale models, they discovered the arrangement of stones creates a natural reverberation effect, amplifying low-frequency sounds while dampening higher pitches. To Neolithic ears, this would have transformed ordinary noises into something otherworldly, a drumbeat swelling into thunder, a chant morphing into a chorus of unseen voices. But here's the puzzle: without metal tools, how did they harness this acoustic magic? The answer might lie in materials we rarely associate with Stonehenge: wood, hide, and human breath. Archaeologists have found evidence of massive Neolithic drums, their frames reconstructed from animal skins stretched over hollowed logs. Striking these inside the circle would have produced deep, resonant tones that the stone's layout amplified for hundreds of feet. Even more intriguing are the bluestones when struck with quartz hammers. They emit a metallic chime unlike any other rock. Could these have been prehistoric tuning forks, their vibrations believed to summon spirits or heal the sick? Folklore from the Preseli Hills, where the bluestones originated, speaks of singing stones used in druidic rituals, though Stonehenge predates the Druids by millennia. The debate over intentionality remains fierce. Some argue the acoustics were a happy accident, a byproduct of stacking heavy stones in a circle, yet the precision of the layout suggests otherwise. The tallest Sarssons form a horseshoe open to the summer solstice sunrise, creating a directional sound funnel. During midwinter ceremonies, voices or drums from this axis would have carried farthest, as if projecting toward the rising sun. Even the spacing of the stones plays a role. Mathematical analysis shows intervals that correspond to resonant frequencies, the same principles used in modern concert halls. This sonic craftsmanship intersects eerily with celestial alignments. While the solstice sunrise steals the spotlight, lesser-known lunar events may hold the key. During a major lunar standstill, an event occurring every 18.6 years, the moon rises directly over the heel stone, casting elongated shadows across the acoustic hotspot at the circle's center. Pair this with the reverberations of drums or chanting, and you have a multisensory ritual where sound and light conspire to alter perception. Anthropologists studying trance states note that rhythmic low-frequency noise can induce visions, a phenomenon documented everywhere from Tibetan monasteries to Amazonian shamanic ceremonies. What emerges is a monument that didn't just mark celestial events but animated them. The stones weren't passive observers of the sky, they were instruments in a grand cosmic performance. And if the acoustics were deliberate, they reveal a sophistication we rarely attribute to ancient builders, an understanding that ritual wasn't just seen or felt, but heard in the very bones of those who gathered there. The next layer of mystery waits not in the earth or the heavens, but in the hands of the people who turned these stones into a bridge between worlds. While the solstice alignments steal the spotlight, Stonehenge's true astronomical genius might lie in its ability to track far rarer celestial events, ones that unfold over decades rather than days. Take the major lunar standstill, an event that occurs only once every 18.6 years. During this cosmic dance, the moon doesn't just rise and set within its usual range, it pushes to the very extremes of its orbit, appearing to pause at the horizon before reversing course. At Stonehenge, this phenomenon transforms the monument into a celestial calculator. The four station stones, often overlooked in favor of the towering Sarsons, form a perfect rectangle that frames the moon's most extreme rising and setting positions. Archaeoastronomer Clive Ruggles demonstrated that when the moon reaches its standstill, it aligns precisely with these markers, as if the stones were giant sightlines etched into the landscape. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Some researchers, like physicist Brian Cox, argue that Stonehenge's builders didn't just observe these events, they predicted them. The 56 Aubrey holes, those enigmatic pits encircling the monument, might hold the key. If markers were moved around this circle at a rate of 3 holes per year, they'd complete a full cycle in 18.6 years, matching the lunar standstill interval. This isn't just coincidence, it's a mathematical blueprint. Imagine Bronze Age astronomers using this system like a giant clock, counting down to the next cosmic spectacle. The question is, why bother? For farming communities, tracking annual seasons made practical sense, but an event occurring once a generation, the answer might lie in the spiritual weight these rare alignments carried. In cultures from the Maya to the Maori, lunar standstills were seen as moments when the veil between worlds grew thin, a time for rituals or prophecies. At Stonehenge, bones buried near the Aubrey holes show signs of deliberate placement during these cycles, suggesting ceremonies where the living communed with ancestors under the standstill moon. Comparisons with other ancient sites deepen the mystery. Newgrange in Ireland, built 500 years before Stonehenge, also tracks lunar extremes, but with a crucial difference. Its alignment is a single narrow passage designed for solitary observation. Stonehenge, by contrast, is communal, its open circle inviting crowds to witness the sky's drama together. Meanwhile, in modern-day Turkey, the 12,000-year-old pillars of Göbekli Tepe bear carvings that may record a comet strike, proof that ancient architects wove celestial events into their very stones. Yet Stonehenge stands apart. While other monuments mark the heavens, few integrated so many alignments with such precision. The debate over practicality versus spirituality might miss the point entirely. For Neolithic people, astronomy wasn't a science separate from faith. It was the language in which the divine spoke. The stones didn't just predict eclipses or standstills. They translated them into rituals, turning cosmic patterns into communal meaning. And that, perhaps, is the most extraordinary alignment of all, the way Stonehenge wove together earth and sky, the measurable and the mystical, into a single enduring vision. Stonehenge wasn't an anomaly, it was part of a global phenomenon, a wave of megalithic ambition that swept across ancient civilizations separated by oceans and millennia. Take Newgrange in Ireland, a massive passage tomb built 500 years before Stonehenge. At dawn on the winter solstice, sunlight pierces its narrow entrance, creeping down a 60-foot corridor to illuminate the inner chamber for precisely 17 minutes. The precision is uncanny. Like Stonehenge, it's a machine built to capture celestial moments. But here's the twist: Newgrange's builders achieved this alignment not with towering stones, but by carefully angling the entire mound. The effect is the same. Light becomes ritual, the sun a participant in human ceremony. Then there's Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza, constructed around the same time as Stonehenge's Sarsson Circle. Its descending passages align with the pole star Thuban, while the so-called air shafts point to Orion's belt and Sirius, stars tied to rebirth in Egyptian cosmology. Half a world away, Mexico's Pyramid of El Castillo at Chichen Itza displays a serpent of shadow slithering down its steps during equinoxes. These parallels aren't coincidences, they're evidence of a shared human instinct to anchor sacred spaces to the sky's rhythms. Why did cultures with no contact develop such similar ideas? One answer lies in practicality. For agricultural societies, tracking solstices meant survival, predicting planting seasons or migratory patterns. But the scale of these monuments suggests something deeper. Psychologists point to our innate cosmic consciousness, a hardwired drive to seek patterns in the heavens. When Neolithic people saw the sun die at winter solstice only to be reborn days later, they didn't just observe, they ritualized. Building alignments into stone may have been an act of control, a way to ensure the sun's return or the moon's loyalty. Yet Stonehenge stands apart in its democratic grandeur. Unlike the pyramid's tombs for pharaohs or Newgrange's intimate passage, Stonehenge's open circle invites communal participation. Its acoustics amplify collective experience, turning celestial events into shared theater. This wasn't just about watching the sky, it was about feeling connected beneath it. The stones remind us that while the impulse to build toward the heavens is universal, the way we do it speaks volumes about who we are, and that's a mystery as enduring as the monuments themselves. Long before archaeologists scrutinized Stonehenge's stones, storytellers imbued them with magic. Medieval chroniclers like Geoffrey of Monmouth spun tales where the monument sprang from Merlin's wizardry, a myth claiming the stones were stolen from an Irish mountain by the sorcerer himself and flown across the sea to Britain. This wasn't just fantasy, it was an attempt to explain the unexplainable. To 12th century observers, the idea that humans could move such colossal rocks seemed as plausible as dragons. So they reached for the supernatural, weaving Stonehenge into Arthurian legend as a memorial for slain knights or a portal to other worlds. These stories reveal less about the monument's origins than about the human need to fill voids of understanding with wonder. Yet folklore often preserves kernels of truth. The persistent link between Stonehenge and healing, for instance, echoes in Geoffrey's account of the stone's purported medicinal properties. Even the name Stonehenge hints at layered meanings derived from Old English, stan for stone and henk for hinge, possibly referencing the lintels, but some scholars argue it traces back to earlier terms for hanging stones, evoking their eerie, suspended appearance. Local legends spoke of dancing giants turned to stone for blasphemy, or of stones that could bleed if struck, myths that may have roots in Neolithic rituals where the rocks were seen as living entities. The gap between myth and science narrows when we examine medieval fascination with alignment. While Geoffrey's Merlin story ignored astronomy, other tales noted the solstice phenomenon, suggesting oral traditions preserved celestial knowledge across generations. A 14th century manuscript describes Stonehenge as a giant's dance, aligned to the sun's path, showing that its astronomical function wasn't entirely forgotten, just reframed through a mythical lens. Modern science has stripped away much of the magic, but not the mystery. Ground-penetrating radar now maps buried pits and pathways invisible to the naked eye, while isotopic analysis of cremated bones traces the journeys of those buried there. Yet every discovery seems to birth new questions. The recent identification of the Stonehenge hidden landscape, a network of underground structures near the monument, has reignited debates about its purpose. Are these remnants of a vast ritual complex or echoes of a forgotten settlement? The tension between legend and evidence persists because Stonehenge refuses to be fully decoded. Myths gave it meaning when knowledge failed. Science now peels back layers, yet the core eludes us. Perhaps that's why the stones endure not as relics of a solved puzzle, but as mirrors reflecting our endless curiosity. The next chapter of discovery won't come from Merlin's spells, but from technologies like DNA analysis and 3D modeling, tools that let us listen to whispers from the soil without drowning out the poetry of the past. Beneath the weathered surface of Salisbury Plain, modern technology is peeling back layers of history, revealing secrets the naked eye could never see. Ground-penetrating radar has transformed our understanding of Stonehenge, painting a picture far grander than the iconic stone circle. In 2020, researchers uncovered something staggering: a ring of at least 20 massive pits, each over 30 feet wide and 15 feet deep, encircling the monument at a distance of nearly 2 miles. These aren't random holes, they form a perfect boundary, a Neolithic superhenge marking sacred ground. Some hold fragments of animal bones and tools, suggesting rituals or offerings. But here's the real shock: their alignment mirrors the station stones inside Stonehenge, hinting at a celestial pattern woven into the entire landscape. Then there's the laser scanning. High-resolution 3D mapping has exposed details invisible for millennia: carvings of dagger shapes and axe heads on the stones, nearly erased by time. These symbols, etched around 4,000 years ago, connect Stonehenge to Bronze Age weapon cults across Europe. Even more telling, the scans reveal tool marks showing stones were repositioned over centuries, as if the builders were fine-tuning their cosmic instrument. Archaeologists now believe the monument wasn't static but dynamic, its layout evolving to track shifting astronomical knowledge. Perhaps the most tantalizing discovery lies just northeast of the stones: a series of deep post holes dating back over 10,000 years, long before Stonehenge's construction. These timber posts, arranged in cryptic patterns, suggest the site was sacred even to Mesolithic hunter-gatherers. Imagine that: a holy place continuously revered across 5,000 years, its purpose morphing from wooden totems to stone colossi. What's emerging is a ritual landscape vaster than we ever imagined. The latest scans show hidden avenues linking Stonehenge to the River Avon, while buried pits near Durrington walls hint at feasting grounds for thousands. Each technological leap, from radiocarbon dating to magnetometry, reshapes the puzzle. The stones we see today might be just the skeleton of a living, breathing ceremonial complex, where processions, solstice rites, and ancestor veneration unfolded on a scale we're only beginning to grasp. The most exciting part: this is just the beginning. Future technologies, AI-assisted pattern recognition, isotopic analysis of soil micro-samples promise to decode even deeper layers. Stonehenge isn't yielding its secrets easily, but with every scan, every pixel of data, we're inching closer to hearing the whispers of those who built it. The past isn't set in stone, it's waiting beneath our feet, ready to rewrite history. Even as modern technology peels back layers of Stonehenge's past, fierce debates still divide experts, none hotter than the mystery of the bluestones. These spotted Dolerite pillars, hauled from Wales' Preseli Hills, sit at the heart of a geological controversy. One camp argues Neolithic builders quarried them deliberately, hacking the stones from rocky outcrops like Carn Godog using stone mauls and fire-setting techniques. Evidence, tool marks on excavated rock faces match those found at Stonehenge, but skeptics point to glacial theory, the idea that Ice Age glaciers dragged these stones partway to Salisbury Plain as erratics, leaving them for humans to discover. Proponents note similar bluestone fragments scattered across southwest England, far from their Welsh origins, yet glacial maps show no clear path to Stonehenge's exact location. If the ice did the heavy lifting, why didn't other Neolithic sites use these stones? The puzzle deepens with recent discoveries of hidden stone working platforms in the Preseli Hills, suggesting organized extraction efforts. Then there are the wilder theories, claims that extraterrestrials guided construction, or that Stonehenge belongs to the mythical Atlantis. While these ideas make for gripping headlines, archaeologists counter with hard data. Laser scans show precise chisel marks on the Sarssons, proof of human craftsmanship. Radiocarbon dates from antler picks used to dig the ditch place construction firmly in the Neolithic, not some lost super-civilization. The real fascination lies not in fantasy, but in how ordinary people achieved the extraordinary. Imagine Bronze Age engineers experimenting with leverage and balance, learning through trial and error, their ingenuity written in stone. What's undeniable is Stonehenge's enduring grip on our imagination. Today, it's more than an archaeological site. It's a living symbol. Every summer solstice, thousands gather to watch the sunrise, some in neo-druid robes, others in jeans and smartphones. The monument bridges eras, hosting pagan rituals one day and scientific surveys the next. UNESCO protects it as a World Heritage Site, while musicians from Pink Floyd to Skrillex have drawn inspiration from its mystique. Even the British passport features its silhouette, yet beneath the tourism and tributes, Stonehenge still whispers its oldest secrets. The bluestones remain a riddle, their journey a testament to human determination. The debates, scientific or sensational, reflect our endless drive to understand our past. Whether glacial gift or sacred quarry, these stones remind us that history isn't set in stone, it's a story we're still writing. Stonehenge isn't just a relic of the past, it's a living, breathing symbol that pulses through modern culture. For neo-druids, the stones are a sacred temple where rituals unfold beneath the solstice sun. Clad in white robes, they gather at dawn, chanting in languages both ancient and invented, their hands pressed against the weathered Sarssons as if tapping into some primal energy. These ceremonies aren't reenactments, they're continuations, a thread tying today's spiritual seekers to the beliefs of people who walked these plains millennia ago. Yet this reverence clashes with the realities of mass tourism. Over 1 million visitors flock here annually, their footsteps eroding the fragile chalk landscape. The debate over access versus preservation reached a boiling point with the controversial tunnel project, a proposed underground road meant to divert traffic from the monument's sightlines. Critics warn vibrations could destabilize the stones, while proponents argue it's the only way to protect the site from modern encroachment. The monument's gravitational pull extends far beyond spirituality. Stonehenge has seeped into every corner of pop culture, from album covers to blockbuster films. Pink Floyd staged a legendary concert here in the 1970s, their psychedelic riffs echoing off the stones. Sci-fi franchises use it as shorthand for ancient mysteries, while advertisers slap its silhouette on everything from tea towels to car commercials. This ubiquity raises a thorny question. When a sacred site becomes a global logo, does it lose its power, or does that very fame keep its story alive? The answer might lie in the way Stonehenge refuses to be pinned down. It's a spiritual compass for some, a photo op for others, and for archaeologists, an endless puzzle. What's astonishing is how effortlessly the monument bridges eras. The same stones that guided Bronze Age rituals now backdrop yoga retreats and TikTok trends. School children sketch them in history class, while conspiracy theorists weave wild tales of alien architects. This duality, sacred and secular, ancient and viral, is what makes Stonehenge unique. Unlike Egypt's pyramids or Peru's Machu Picchu, it doesn't sit isolated in a desert or atop a mountain. It rises from ordinary English farmland, a daily presence for nearby villagers, yet utterly extraordinary. Perhaps that's the secret of its endurance. The stones don't just belong to the past, they're active players in our present, inviting each generation to project its hopes, theories, and dreams onto their weathered surfaces. The tension between preservation and experience mirrors a deeper human dilemma. Do we lock away history like a museum piece, or let people touch, climb, and yes, sometimes damage it in the name of connection? Stonehenge's caretakers walk this tightrope daily. Ropes keep visitors at arm's length, yet special access grants let druids dance between the stones. Laser scans document every crack, while nighttime light shows reimagine the monument in pulsating colors. This balancing act between study and celebration, protection and participation, might just be the key to its future. After 5,000 years, the stones still refuse to be mere bystanders. They demand engagement, sparking debates, inspiring art, and yes, even hosting the occasional rock concert. In a world that moves faster each day, Stonehenge endures not as a frozen moment in time, but as a conversation, one that began with Neolithic whispers and now echoes across the internet age. Stonehenge forces us to rethink everything we assume about prehistoric societies. These weren't primitive people. They were master engineers, astronomers, and visionaries who coordinated across generations to create something timeless. The monument shatters the myth that ancient cultures were isolated or unsophisticated. Look at the logistics alone, hauling 80-ton stones across miles without wheels, aligning them with celestial precision, and maintaining a sacred landscape for centuries. This wasn't the work of scattered tribes. It was a civilization capable of large-scale collaboration, a society with the organizational skills of a modern corporation and the spiritual depth of a cathedral's architects. The real breakthrough in understanding Stonehenge hasn't come from any single field, but from the collision of disciplines. Archaeologists mapping the soil, astronomers decoding alignments, acousticians testing sound properties. Each piece of the puzzle required a different lens. Even chemists played a role, analyzing pig teeth from nearby feasts to trace seasonal migration patterns. This interdisciplinary approach reveals a truth. Ancient people didn't compartmentalize knowledge. For them, science, religion, and art were woven together. The stones weren't just a calendar or temple. They were a holistic expression of a world-view where everything connected. Yet for all our tools and theories, Stonehenge remains tantalizingly out of reach. Ground-penetrating radar exposes hidden pits. Isotope analysis tracks the journeys of the buried, but the why lingers just beyond our grasp. Maybe that's the point. Some mysteries resist solutions, not for lack of evidence, but because they were designed to. The builders left no written records, only stones that whisper in a language we're still learning. So here's the question for you. If you could ask the builders one thing, what would it be? Would you inquire about the bluestones' journey, the solstice rituals, or something deeper, what they hoped future generations would feel standing among these stones? Drop your thoughts in the comments. After 5,000 years, the conversation is just getting started. So where do you stand in this great Stonehenge debate? After centuries of theories, the mystery remains wide open, and that's the thrill of it. Maybe you're drawn to the healing theory, those resonant bluestones and skeletal evidence painting a picture of a Bronze Age sanctuary where the desperate sought miracles. Or perhaps the celestial calendar speaks to you, with its precise alignments tracking solstices and lunar cycles like a prehistoric observatory. Then again, maybe none of these explanations feel quite right. Could Stonehenge have been a political statement, a communal project to unite scattered tribes, or something even more unexpected, like a Neolithic sound chamber designed to alter consciousness during rituals? The beauty is, there's no wrong answer, just layers of possibility waiting to be peeled back. think about how much has changed in our understanding just in the last decade. Ground-penetrating radar revealed hidden pits stretching for miles. Isotope analysis traced the origins of cremated bones to distant regions. Every time we think we've cracked the code, a new discovery appends the narrative. And here's the thing, many of these breakthroughs started with public curiosity. The shift from seeing Stonehenge as a static monument to a dynamic, evolving landscape. That came from amateur archaeologists spotting patterns in aerial surveys, the acoustic studies proving the stone's sonic properties, inspired by visitors who noticed strange echoes during solstice gatherings. Your perspective matters because history isn't just written by experts, it's a collaboration across time, where even a casual observer might spot the clue that changes everything. That's why we want to hear from you. Drop your theories in the comments. Do you lean toward healing, astronomy, ancestor worship, or something wilder? Maybe you've visited Stonehenge and felt something the textbooks don't describe. A hum in the air, a pull toward certain stones, or just a sense of standing at the edge of time. Those personal connections are part of the story too. After all, the people who built this marvel didn't leave behind instruction manuals. They left riddles carved in rock, waiting for each generation to listen differently. So go ahead, weigh in. The next big revelation might just begin with a spark from someone watching this video. One of the most persistent myths about Stonehenge is that it was built by the Druids, those mysterious Celtic priests immortalized in folklore. The truth, the monument predates them by thousands of years. While Druids did conduct rituals in sacred groves during the Iron Age, Stonehenge's construction began around 3000 BCE, long before Celtic culture even emerged in Britain. The confusion likely stems from 18th century Romanticism, when antiquarians like William Stukeley linked the stones to Druidism, weaving a narrative so compelling it stuck. But radiocarbon dating doesn't lie. The bones buried at Stonehenge are older than the Druids by millennia. That's not to say later groups didn't adopt the site. Romans, medieval mystics, and modern neo-pagans have all left their mark, but the original builders remain anonymous, their identities lost to time. Another exaggeration surrounds Stonehenge's astronomical precision. Popular media often portrays it as a flawless Neolithic supercomputer, predicting eclipses down to the minute. Reality is more nuanced. While the solstice alignments are undeniable, they're not perfect. The sun doesn't hit the heel stone with laser accuracy. It's a broad alignment, visible across several days. And those 56 Aubrey holes, they might track lunar cycles, but not with the mathematical rigor of a modern calendar. Ancient observers likely noticed patterns like the moon's 18.6-year cycle and marked them symbolically rather than with scientific precision. This wasn't a failure of their skill. It reflects a different worldview. For Neolithic people, celestial events weren't just data points. They were moments of spiritual power, woven into rituals rather than recorded in spreadsheets. Then there's the healing myth. While bluestones may have been believed to possess medicinal properties, calling Stonehenge a prehistoric lurds overstates the evidence. Yes, some bones show injuries, but others belong to healthy individuals. No healing tools or herb remnants have been found, and the site's layout prioritizes spectacle over practicality. The sonic properties of the stones real, but whether they were used therapeutically is speculative. Archaeology thrives on evidence, not just intriguing possibilities. These misconceptions matter because they shape how we value ancient achievements. Framing Stonehenge as a Druid temple or a perfect calendar risks diminishing its true marvel. The fact that Neolithic people, without writing or metal tools, organized a project spanning generations. They didn't need alien architects or lost super civilizations. Their ingenuity was enough. the next time you hear a sensational claim, ask, does it honor the past or just our desire for mystery? Sometimes the truth, complex, human, and imperfect, is more fascinating than fiction. The secrets of Stonehenge are far from fully unearthed. In fact, the next decade of research promises breakthroughs that could rewrite history. Imagine drones equipped with hyperspectral scanners hovering above the Salisbury Plain, capturing data invisible to the human eye. These advanced sensors detect subtle soil variations, revealing buried post holes or ceremonial pits without ever breaking ground. Meanwhile, AI algorithms are being trained to analyze decades of excavation records, spotting patterns missed by generations of archaeologists. One tantalizing project involves reconstructing Neolithic soundscapes using acoustic modeling to simulate how chants or drumbeats would have reverberated between the stones 4,000 years ago. Early tests suggest certain frequencies could have created auditory illusions, making whispers audible across the entire circle. But the real game changer lies beneath the surface. Scientists are developing nanoscale soil analysis techniques capable of identifying microscopic traces of ancient activity, pollen from long-vanished floral offerings, lipids from animal fat feasts, even the molecular ghosts of human sweat left on tool handles. These invisible artifacts could map ritual movements with unprecedented precision, showing us exactly where people gathered, cooked, or prayed. There's also the mystery of the missing stones. Ground-penetrating radar recently hinted at colossal Sarsons buried near the monument. Could these be the lost pillars of Stonehenge's original design, toppled by time? Future excavations may finally complete the puzzle. Climate change looms as both threat and opportunity. Rising temperatures parch the chalky soil, exposing previously hidden features through differential grass growth, a phenomenon that's already helped identify new processional avenues. Yet extreme weather accelerates erosion, forcing conservators to innovate. Laser cleaning techniques borrowed from Renaissance art restoration now delicately remove lichen without damaging the stone's patina, while biodegradable nanogels may soon protect surfaces from acid rain. The biggest challenge, balancing access with preservation. Virtual reality reconstructions offer one solution soon. Visitors might don AR glasses to see solstice ceremonies unfold around them while the physical stones remain untouched. What keeps researchers awake at night isn't just what we might find, but what we could lose. Each summer solstice, the trampling of thousands compacts the earth, potentially crushing undiscovered artifacts. Satellite monitoring now tracks minute ground shifts, alerting archaeologists to vulnerable areas. There's even talk of smart stones, embedding microsensors in non-invasive locations to monitor vibrations, temperature fluctuations, and weathering in real time. The most exciting possibilities come from interdisciplinary collaboration. Geneticists are analyzing ancient DNA from cremated remains, tracing kinship networks across Britain. Geologists are fingerprinting stone sources with isotopic precision, revealing forgotten trade routes. Even astrophysicists are involved, studying how changes in Earth's axial tilt over millennia might have altered the monument's alignment. One radical theory suggests Stonehenge was built as a celestial correction device, its stones periodically repositioned to account for astronomical drift. This isn't just about solving old mysteries, it's about asking better questions. Future technologies might let us reconstruct the faces of those buried here from skeletal DNA, or decode symbolic carvings as a form of proto-writing. Every breakthrough peels back another layer, reminding us that Stonehenge wasn't frozen in time. It evolved, and so does our understanding. The stones have kept their secrets for 5,000 years. The next chapter of discovery is already being written, not in rock but in data, imagination, and the collective curiosity of everyone watching. Who knows? The key to unlocking Stonehenge's greatest secret might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right tool, the right mind, the right moment to reveal itself. If you're planning your own pilgrimage to Stonehenge, timing is everything. Arriving at dawn for the summer solstice is an unforgettable experience, watching the first golden rays slip between those ancient stones, just as they've done for millennia. But here's a pro tip: book the special access sunrise tour months in advance. These limited entry slots let you walk among the stones before regular crowds arrive, with no ropes blocking your path. Feel the texture of the Sarssons under your fingertips, listen to the wind hum through the lintels, and for a fleeting moment, step into the shoes of those who built this marvel. Just remember, British weather is unpredictable. Pack layers, waterproof gear, and sturdy shoes. The Salisbury Plain can be muddy even in summer. Don't rush straight to the stones. Start at the world-class visitor center, where life-sized Neolithic huts reconstructed from archaeological evidence let you peek into Bronze Age domestic life. Inside, interactive displays decode the monument's engineering secrets, while a trove of artifacts from antler picks used to dig the ditch to polished ceremonial axes tell intimate stories of the builders. The highlight, a 360-degree virtual solstice experience that transports you inside the circle at its zenith, complete with the sounds of chanting and ringing bluestones. Outside, volunteers demonstrate ancient techniques like flint knapping or rope making, skills that would have been second nature to Stonehenge's creators. For deeper context, explore the surrounding landscape. Woodhenge, just 2 miles away, offers a quieter counterpart, its concrete markers tracing where timber posts once stood in eerie alignment with Stonehenge's solstice axes. Or hike the processional avenue toward the River Avon, retracing the path pilgrims may have taken 4,000 years ago. Local guides often share lesser-known gems, like the Cursus, a mysterious Neolithic earthwork whose purpose still baffles archaeologists. End your day back at the stones for sunset. As twilight paints the Sarssons amber, the crowds thin, and something shifts. The monument seems to exhale, settling into its ancient rhythm. That's when Stonehenge whispers loudest, not as a tourist attraction, but as a living artifact. Whether you come for history, spirituality, or sheer wonder, one thing's certain: you won't leave unchanged. And isn't that the mark of every great mystery? Not to be solved, but to be felt. A connection stretching back through time, waiting for each visitor to discover their own meaning in the stone's silent embrace. After centuries of study, Stonehenge still refuses to surrender its secrets, but that's precisely what makes it extraordinary. Let's revisit the 3 most compelling theories. First, the healing center hypothesis, where the bluestones' resonant chimes and the bones of the injured suggest a sanctuary for the sick. Then there's the celestial calendar, its stones aligned with solstices and lunar cycles like a prehistoric observatory. And finally, the grand ceremonial hub, a stage for rituals connecting the living, the dead, and the cosmos. None of these explanations cancel the others out. In fact, their overlap might be the real revelation. Stonehenge wasn't built to serve a single purpose, but to embody an entire worldview, where medicine, astronomy, and spirituality flowed together like the River Avon through the sacred landscape. What's remarkable isn't just the monument's physical scale, but its conceptual ambition. This wasn't a tool for telling time or a temple for healing. It was a mirror held up to humanity's deepest questions. Why are we here? How do we mark our place in the universe? The stones don't answer these questions. They amplify them, inviting each generation to listen differently. Archaeologist Mike Parker Pearson put it perfectly: Stonehenge isn't a puzzle to be solved, it's a conversation across time, and that conversation is far from over. Every year, new technologies peel back another layer. Ground-penetrating radar reveals hidden pits. Isotope analysis traces the journeys of the buried. Yet with each breakthrough, the mystery deepens. Maybe that's the point. Stonehenge endures not despite its enigmas, but because of them. It's a reminder that some truths aren't meant to be pinned down, they're meant to inspire, to unsettle, to keep us reaching. As you walk away from this video, carry that curiosity forward. Look up at the next solstice sunrise, or listen for echoes in ancient spaces. The past isn't dead and gone. It's alive in every question we dare to ask. And who knows, the next great discovery might start with someone like you, standing in the shadow of these stones, wondering what stories they've yet to tell. If Stonehenge has left you as fascinated as we are, don't let the journey end here. Hit that like button if you love unraveling ancient mysteries, and subscribe so you never miss an adventure into the past. Turn on notifications, we've got more secrets to uncover, from Egypt's hidden tombs to the lost cities of the Amazon. Now, we want to hear from you. What's your wildest Stonehenge theory? Drop it in the comments, maybe your idea will spark the next big discovery. And while you're there, check out our video on the Nazca lines or the truth behind the Bermuda Triangle. History isn't just in books, it's alive, waiting for curious minds like yours to keep the conversation going. See you in the next mystery.